Hello there. I'm Jill Jackson, the owner of SeaSpray Watercolors. And if you're new here, I just want to say welcome to my sometimes wacky, but always wonderful world of watercolors. Let's get started. Today we will be painting this easy watercolor picture of two rowboats. I got the reference photo from this book, Painting Watercolor, Sea and Sky the Easy Way by Terry Harrison. I like this book. It has a lot of simple things in it, lots of good technique. So I believe you can get it on Amazon. All right, let's get started. First thing we're going to do is put in some background. So I'm going to take ultramarine blue, and I'm going to add that to the sky. Now I'm going to turn this upside down so that it's easier for me to reach. And I'm just going to wet the background. Okay, and just want to make sure it's all completely covered or wet. Now I'm going to put in my blue. Okay, and you can always tilt your sketchbook to get the pigment to distribute evenly. I think I want to put a little bit brighter blue on there down near the horizon line. Just to make it stand out a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to dab off the excess water, and I'm going to let it run a little bit. Okay, and I like that, so let's turn it around. I like that, so I'm going to leave it dry, and then we'll go on to the water. Okay, when your sky is dry, and you can test that if you touch the paper with the back of your fingers. If it feels cool, it's not dry yet. If there's no coolness to it, it's nice and dry. So just a little hint there. What we're going to do is we're going to paint the water now, and we're going to be careful to go around the reflection of the boat. We don't want to lose our reflection. So this is not anything difficult. If you're a total beginner, you certainly can do this. It's just getting your paper wet. There's no rhyme or reason here to this. Just get the paper wet, and we'll put some color to it. And if you're a beginner, just so you know, you do not have to spend a lot of money for supplies. There's only one supply that I would suggest, that you bite the bullet and get a really good grade, and that's the paper. The paper is the most important thing. If you're fighting with your paper, it's going to be hard to learn. So my suggestion is get good paper. My favorite paper of all is Arches Cold Press. Okay, now I'll get back to the paper. Now I'm going to just drop in some water around the boat so that it looks like it's on water and not floating in the air. I use Arches Cold Press watercolor paper, 140 pounds, and it's just the best. It works the best for me. It's available here in this country where I'm at, so that's what I use. I buy it by the rolls, and it lasts me a long time. I've been working on the one roll that I have in stock here, and I've been using it for about 2 years now, and there's still plenty on it, so that's the best thing. Now you can use the cheapest brushes. This is just, I believe I paid 99 cents for this. It's a Polar Flow. I got it at one of the painting supply houses, the art supply places, and it works just fine. Now once you get your pigment laid down, leave it alone. Don't play with it. Don't do what I'm doing here. Okay, there we go. I like the way that looks, so let's let it dry. Okay, now we're going to start on the boats. The sun is coming from this side, so this will be my lightest area of the painting, that and the reflection in the water. This side of the boat will be the darkest, and here in the back it will be dark. The second boat, we'll get to that one. Let's do this one first. I'm going to use this is yellow ochre. Okay, now there's a little puddle of water on there that I don't want to be there, so I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to squeeze it out into a paper towel, and then I'm just going to touch this, the tip of that, into that little puddle, and it soaks it up like a mini vacuum cleaner. This is called a thirsty brush. Okay, now we're going to let that dry. While that's drying, let's go ahead and put in the, I'm going to put the shadow in up here. And for that, I'm just going to use some sepia. Sepia is about the darkest brown. It's almost black. There are different kinds of brushes. There are natural hair and then synthetics. The natural hair, of course, is the priciest, but the synthetics have come a long way. They are pretty good. They hold a point real well. The only thing about a synthetic brush is it does not hold as much water as what a natural hairbrush does. A sable brush or squirrel will hold a lot of water. My favorite brushes of all are the Silver Black Velvet brush line from the Silver Brush Company. Those are a combination of squirrel and synthetic, and they have a beautiful point on them. They cost more than this does, but they're a delight to work with. This is good to start with. A size 10, and it's got a nice point to it. So this is a very versatile brush to start out with. All right, we have our shadow in here. Let's go across and put our shadow down in here too, so this can have a more of a chance to dry. Okay, with that dark brown color, let's go ahead and put the shadow in for this boat. And you can see this is a fairly large size brush, but since it has such a nice sharp point on it, it's easy to use as you would for a smaller brush. And I've read oftentimes in the watercolor books, now I'm going to just interrupt myself there. There's a puddle there, so I wiped my brush off real good, squeezed the water out of it, and now I'll just touch that in so that it sucks up some of that excess water. Okay, and I'll do the same with that. Squeeze the water out of your brush, and then just touch the tip into the puddle and see it vacuums it up. Okay, and we can do this, the dark side of this boat. Sounds like a Star Wars movie, doesn't it? The dark side of the rowboat. Okay, and I'm going to suck up the extra paint with a thirsty brush. There you go. All right, now we're going to let that dry, and we will go on to putting some shading on this boat and adding some color down here. Okay, now after taking a good hard look at my painting here, I have decided that I need to go back in and darken up the shadows. Watercolor is often a dance between having the right values, which means the right lightness and darkness of all the places on your painting, and what you think it ought to be. So it's a continuous back and forth, back and forth. So I'm going to go back and get a darker mix of my shadow color and paint that in. Yeah, I was telling you about paper, to use good paper. If you're a beginner, my suggestion is to go online and buy one of these. It's an Etchr, E-T-C-H-R, watercolor sketchbook, and the pages are small enough that they're not overwhelming. The paper is fairly decent in it. It won't fight you. And if you buy that, one of these brushes, a number 10 round, and you can cheap out on the paints also. You don't have to start with expensive paints. At some point, I'm sure you will want to upgrade if you stick with watercolor, but it doesn't have to be a costly investment to get started. I'm just darkening up the shadow side of the boats. And the inside of the boat here. Now I'm going to turn it upside down because that makes it just a little bit easier for me when I'm filming. Okay, those are darker. That looks better to me. Now let's go ahead and run this down through the reflections. Let's see a little place there. Okay. What you want to do is take your dark and do a back and forth motion, but stay within your drawing, all right? You want to have a little bit of white in it because it's a reflection. Okay, and that's all there is to it. Now you do the same thing on this side. All right, and your shadows are in. I think maybe I might want to add a little bit more darkness to this. All right, that looks good. Now we can go on to the water. Okay, so my camera shut off in the middle of the painting and I didn't know it, so I'll show you what to do with the water on the scrap of paper. Here's our reference photo, and what I'm doing is I'm using a number 8 flat shader brush because that's my favorite thing to use on water, but you can certainly use your number 10 round for this. Actually, I'll use a number 10 round. What you're going to do is you're going to take any shade of blue that you have on your palette. If you have a little ultramarine, that's fine, we'll use that. And you're just going to make back and forth zigzag motions to represent the water. You don't want to get into your reflection. Stay away from that, okay? So just start back here, make them small. As you get around a little bit further, zigzag it back. Okay, and the same thing on this side. And that's how you do water. So you have your background color already on it, so it's going to look different than mine. I have no background color on mine. So it'll be light blue with the dark blue waves in it. So, and then you're going to let that dry. Okay, after your water is dry, you're going to want to put in your pole. So take some of that brown color that you have sitting on your palette and make it medium strength, and you're just going to paint in now. If you want to get fancy, the light's coming from this direction, this way, so this side would be lighter and this side would be a little bit darker. So you can take some of any of your blue that you have on your palette, mix it in with some of that brown, and that should give you a really good shadow color. And you can add it in on this side. Oops, I put it on the wrong side, didn't I? Well, okay. Put it on the other side and just blend it out a little bit. There, now you have a pole. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the rope in, and I'll show you how to put the shading in for the reflection of the pole. Okay? Now, how I do the ropes, how I would do them, is like this. You know, there's the right way, the wrong way, and then there's Jill's way. So we're going to do Jill's way today. And I have found that if I use a flat edge shader brush like this one, it's a number 8 Premier Amethyst shader, and it's not an expensive brush. I got it for a couple bucks at one of the art supply stores. And what I do is I put my paint on the brush, and I hold the brush up perpendicular, and I just tap it along the rope. Because I have a hard time taking one swipe like that and keeping it even. So if I just come over here and just suggest the rope, works out better for me. And then I'll go back and fill in any of the little holes that don't have any color in them. All right? And that, my friend, is how I do it. Of course, you can always do a line with your number 10 round if you only want to buy one brush. You can take and you mix up a little gray. I found the lighter that you make your ropes and things, the better that they look. Okay? So what you do is you take your paint and you hold it perpendicular like you do with a flat edge shader, and you just keep it off the paper and just do a nice even swipe. So that's sort of how it's supposed to look. There are other brushes too that you can get, but I just really like my flat shader. It works the best for me. So, all right, now I promised you I'd show you how to do the reflection on the water. And take one of your browns that you have on your palette, and you're just going to do a back and forth little motion like that. And that will make your shading for your pole. Okay? And that's your finished product. I hope you're proud of yourself. You should be. That's your first painting. If you would like to, post it on my Facebook page, SeaSpray Watercolors, and I would love to see what you did. And I will catch you the next time. Keep your brushes wet. Hey there, what do you think? Did you get any value from my video? If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and you can tell I live in the South. We mash the bell down here. We don't push the button, we mash it. So mash the little bell so you don't miss anything. And also in the comments below, I will be leaving a link to my Patreon page if you'd like to participate in that. And also links to all of my social media accounts if you'd like to stay in the loop. That's it. I'll see you in the next video.